I keep forgetting I have to admit you in now. It's giving me a god complex.
Yeah, like you didn't already have one.
I think I.
Welcome. Oh no,
Whoa,
sorry.
whoa, whoa! Sorry.
Jumping the whoa,
No,
whoa,
I'm playing.
unwelcome.
Sorry, I'm
I'm
playing with
sorry.
my mixer.
Hey.
I think I need to do some maintenance on it. It's getting real staticky in the knobs.
Oh, that sucks. All right, I'm ready. You
Yeah, you're
ready?
good. Yo.
Okay. Welcome to Comics in the Making. My name is Ryan Holgerson. I'm the creator of Slackmatic, and I'm joined, as always, by Levi Erickson, the creator of The Big. Levi, how you doing today?
Oh, excellent, excellent. Happy 90-degree day. I think it's gonna be 90 today.
Oh my God. Yeah, and it's well, this is going to come out in probably mid-June, but uh yeah, as of right now,
Yeah,
it's
wasn't Heroes Con great?
I know, dude. I was gonna make that joke later. uh, but yeah, early April, and I'm wearing shorts. And it's got to get hot for me
Let's
to
see.
wear shorts. And
Let's see
oh
those
man,
beams.
yeah, look at them. Oh man, this is
Some
just like
sun.
my OnlyFans page.
Yeah, I mean, we only have so many fans.
Yeah, no, I mean I've got the one, and I'm pretty sure it's just a mirror. It's weird, but so Levi, I'm a week off of going to Fluke.
Yeah.
Went to Fluke last weekend. I'm not going to do a huge rundown. Had a
Well, I
had a
want to
good
hear
time.
a table by table breakdown of
Oh my gosh.
everything.
But we had a good time. Me and my daughter went down. For the first time ever, I got a hotel
Oh, cool.
the Friday night, and this is actually going to lead into why the last time I did it, I wasn't able to go to Bizarro Luxury, which is the store in Athens that co-sponsors Fluke, and this is for me one of my favorite stores to go into. And the last time I did Fluke, we had gotten up. We did it all in one day, so we got up at like
Hmm.
4 in the morning or something like that, and drove down to Athens. And by the time the show was over, I was just done. And I was like, I don't think I can walk around a store for another hour.
Oh
Um,
man.
so I really wanted to go this year, and I was joking to my daughter. I wanted to go because I wanted to show her what it was like going to a like used record store comic shop in the 90s. Um, and that is Bizarro Luxury. Bizarro Luxury is it's right in downtown Athens. Dude, it's really funny. We were in this parking garage, and I couldn't 100% remember where the store was. I knew it was like right around there or whatever. But we packed everything up from the show. We walked down the parking garage, and man, and Athens was popping that night. They were doing some kind of like jam in the street or whatever. There were people everywhere, and so anyway, I punch it into my GPS, and we're right outside the entrance of the parking garage, and I'm like, oh, it's right down the street. And we take 3 steps and we're in front of the entrance. It was right there the whole time.
That's sick.
Right, like right there. I was like, oh, okay. Um, but for anybody who doesn't know or is going to be in that area, man, I highly, highly, highly recommend going to this store, especially if you're into indie and alternative books, stuff that's harder to find.
Mhm.
Um, it's they've got the shop split up into like, oh, I want to say 3 to 4 rooms. I mean, and there's like a big hallway and stuff like that. And they've got some of the stuff that's coming out regularly. I saw a spinner rack, but they really push the indies. And I mean, their big kind of main room is just an entire wall bookshelf of every alternative Fantagraphics drawn and quarterly book you can
Yeah.
imagine, and then lots of classic stuff too. I mean, it's not just that, but it's just, oh my gosh, it's so much. And honestly, when I went in there, because it'd been so long since I'd been there, uh I kind of started getting overwhelmed because I was like, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to
I
start. Like
I
I
get
had had a
overwhelmed really easy. If I go to record stores, if I go to comic shops,
yeah,
all I can do is think about what I already have and go, "Oh, look, I got
right.
that one. Oh, there's another one I got. Look at that, you know."
Yeah,
And I
no,
forget what's on my list.
yeah, no, I like, I'd had a pretty good day at the show, and I knew I was gonna spend. I was kind of like, I don't care what I spend here. Like, I'm just gonna go nuts. And um, but I kind of didn't know where to start. And then we wandered down the end of the hallway, and I found their manga section.
Nice.
And the manga section was not like, it's not what like you're gonna find at like a Books a Million. It was like Shigeru Mizuki books like Kitaro. It was, I got a Shintaro Kago book, which is this. He's a, if you don't know who Shintaro Kago is, he's this way out there kind of body horror artist. Like that's kind of what he's more
Yeah.
known for now, is doing this weird like he'll do these drawings of girls, and like their skeleton and their organs are like popping out of the back of their body, but they're like all cute and stuff. It's hard to explain. His stuff is amazing, but Fantagraphics had put out one of his manga, and he had it there, so I was like grabbing. When I got to the manga section, within 5 minutes I had a stack of books that tall. And then and then my daughter was looking for some stuff, and so we had a really good time. But yeah, I just wanted to throw it out there real quick, just a plug for them. Go to Bizarro Luxury. Hey, go to Bizarro Luxury and look for The Melting Dad, which is my new book, and
Nice plug.
it's there. Um and I mean, look, I've gotten emails from people from there, just out of the blue, got an email saying, "Hey, I found your book at Bizarro Luxury."
Awesome.
Um and that's the other reason we kind of all went there. Was after Fluke, they'll take in your books at 50% off, and you either get credit, which I got because I had like over $200 worth of books. Um, but they'll take in your books and stuff like that. So there's not just the mainstream published stuff. You're gonna find like everybody's zines and mini comics and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, so go to Bizarre Luxury. It's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely support those businesses as much as possible. Because really, I don't know, Ryan. I don't. We talk a lot about what we think the industry, the state of the comic book industry is, and and I feel like you can't talk about the comic book industry without also acknowledging the parallel industries, games, film, other entertainment. And they're just on a runaway like track, you know, to the edge, as far as the mainstream goes. I think, you know, um so yeah, on on LinkedIn of all places, I just caught this post, and it's from the LA Times, and it's linked to a video, but it's talking about the state of the box office. I lived in LA. My sister still lives out in that area. I mean, we know a lot of people who are, who work in Hollywood, who work in film and television, and
Yeah.
it's obvious, it's an industry. And so, just real quick for this little tweet, or not tweet, whatever this is on LinkedIn. Um, Film industry is grappling with a brutal first quarter at the box office, and this talks about revenue being down 11%, and talks about pre-pandemic levels, and looking at 50% from the same month in 2024, according to This guy who is a media and entertainment analyst at Roth Capital Partners. When I want entertainment analysis, I'm going to a place called Roth Capital Partners. That's what I'm going to. They're talking about, and then without even explaining it, they're now they're starting to talk about theaters, but they don't distinguish theaters from, well, I guess the box office denotes a theater, so um, the basically saying we haven't come back since the pandemic, and whatever, whatever. So for some reason that caught me, and I responded and I said, I can fix it. We need 100% better movies. The old studio model, the dead horse that we've been beating since the sign said Hollywood Land, needs to be chucked in the well, and that's fine because the well's been poisoned for decades. It's no longer a landscape for creatives. I'm aware it's been a cesspool since before I was born. Sometimes shining points could pierce the veil every now and then, but the majority of major studio execs these days are literally Gossamer from Looney Tunes. I think I've changed my mind about that analogy. They're not Gossamer because Gossamer at least had good intentions. Was just too big for the little lovey cuddlies that he wanted. Um, they are Marvin the Martian.
Yeah,
They want to blow something up and they don't know why.
yeah,
They have no idea what they're doing. Um, so and then that's where I pull in comics, popular music, television, video game industry. The audience is dissatisfied, but where do they go? Especially if you're a normie and you don't understand that there is a world outside that you'll get the content that you're looking for. But most people don't know how or where to look for it. And that's why stores like down in Athens are so important because they are that anchor. And I can't imagine that, they started 10 years ago. I mean, I can
oh
only
no,
imagine
this is a
that place
very
has
old
been
store.
around, yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
forever.
yeah,
Um, a
yeah,
staple of the Athens, scene.
yeah.
So, I went on, you know, uh, even questioning why I even responded to that, but it boggles my mind how we can sit and pontificate on the state of popular culture because the one thing everyone seems to agree on is it sucks. And not see the writing on the wall. It sucks, it's like an improv class. It sucks and no one wants to pick that up. Um, and that leads me to this was probably the same day because I must have been on a roll. So, sliding over to Threads now. So, and maybe you saw this one. Um,
I'm pretty sure I did.
but I'm not sure who this person is, but they said people that want comic books to be cheap don't really care about artists getting paid, LOL. And I don't know, I didn't see what that person was responding to or where that, inspiration came up because I don't hear people talking about the cost of comics as much anymore as I do the quality of
I
what
mean,
they're getting.
I hear a little bit.
I mean, yeah, yeah. So my first response was in our hands, it's in our hands to price our own books. Obviously, we have to price them so we can get what we need out of each copy. I'm not paying my bills with my comics, so what I have to say about it might be irrelevant. Um, I want my comics to pay for themselves, so long as I'm turning over money. Um, that's cool because I'm making comics no matter what. You know what I mean? Now whether or not I print them, publish them, and do all that kind of stuff, that might be a little different. But uh, but yeah, I that's what I'm concerned with. And then there was some more back and forth with some other people, and then I said, okay, here's the take. Comics historically, you were talking over 20 years ago, were cheap. It was a really wide net. That's why it was so cheap. Even your crappy, Marvel, C level titles would have a circulation of 60, 80,000.
Yeah.
Um, so that's where the pricing was. disposable entertainment, but it hasn't been like that for a long time, especially, when we had that big jump from most comics being between $1 and $1.50 to now you're looking at some of those first image comics, I had sticker shock, $2 and up for an issue, but because artists want to get paid. Um, so it doesn't help the major studios. Here's the big one though. The major studios have their appendages in almost everything now. So you're working for a small studio and all of a sudden, you hear that they're being bought by Sony or whoever. That spells disaster for you because now they've just increased the population of people that need a cut of that $4 out of that comic book sale. You know, um, you know, I think my quote is they're getting their cut and their cut is bigger than your whole ass. So, and that got reshared a little bit. And then you scroll down through the rest of the comics and people start talking about, um, oh, it goes to the shareholders and, not the people who work, I'm like, yeah, but that's the same argument you make about everything, I mean, the reason why food prices are up, the reason why, is because the shareholders, their cut stays the same regardless. It's like that scene in Goodfellas where you go into business with the with the crew and it's like, oh, you had a fire, fuck you, pay me. What's the matter? Your mom got sick, fuck you, pay me. That's how corporate boards are run. And until we come to terms with that, we're doomed. You know, at least
Yeah.
in that sector.
Well, I think there's always, there's such a huge okay, there's a lot of huge disconnects here with like everything, because you've got the execs at the top,
Hmm.
and then you've got the creatives in the middle. And this is not by importance, guys. I'm just
Yeah.
throwing things around. But you got the creators here in the middle. And then you've got the consumer. Um, down here, and I think there's always a disconnect between all three of those.
Yeah.
uh the executives, all they care about is money. um
Yeah, it's just widgets to them. They don't
that's
care if it's
no.
bananas or if it's comics
Yeah,
or
right.
if it's the lids for soda bottles. It's the widget.
Yeah,
You know,
it's yeah
how
it's
much
all they
did
care about.
the graph go up this quarter for that widget? You know.
Yeah. um and then of course the artists are looking at a creative vision, where they want to go, what story they want to tell, what art they want to produce. Um, and the consumer, I'm gonna say the consumer doesn't even know what they want.
Well, that's the thing. I
And
mean, the
and
normies don't realize that all the stuff that they are complaining about for mainstream, if they just step out, they'll find awesomeness.
there is something for everybody. And okay, so let's to kind of backtrack to the Hollywood talk for a little bit. Um, I think this downfall that they're seeing, and that's happening right now, as far as theater sales and stuff like that, and yeah, not recovering since COVID. Well, I mean, first of all, I think it's such a lack of insight into just a normal human nature,
Yeah.
um which is just people. And look, I've worked in business for a long time. I'm out of that shit now, but I was in it for a long time, and even just talking to bosses and other peers at that level, there's always just this just innate lack of awareness on most people's human nature. And so we get through COVID and nobody's going to movie theaters. You can't go to movie theaters. And that lasts, almost a year.
Yeah.
And, in when that happens, what were the studios having to do? Well, they're having to push these things to streaming, go spend your money on the streaming or go buy it for 30, 40 bucks or whatever, to try and offset the theater costs and everything.
Hmm.
And that's what people do or don't do. And then, a year to 2 years, that's not a short amount of time. I mean, it is in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things, but in somebody's life, that's not a short amount of time. And now we're a few years after it, and we think everything's just going to go back to normal. Well, it hasn't gone back to normal. A lot of things have, but when it comes to stuff like that, you just don't flip a switch and everything goes back. But I'm going to argue that it's not just the whole COVID thing. It's not just that. I think that is a part of it. I really think it is. I think that's a part of it. We've changed our I don't know, dynamic as a society. I mean, look at all the stuff going on about working from home and going to the office and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Which I mean, hey, like I've worked from home before. Like I just I don't see like we prove it's been proven because of the pandemic that this works and we
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we're like, nope, 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 we got to get back. Anyway, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I see a desperation from Hollywood, from the entertainment industry
Hmm.
because of that lost revenue over the last couple years. And desperation doesn't generally bring about good creative decisions.
Yeah. Right.
Desperation brings about, well, what worked before? Let's just copy what worked before.
Yeah.
I mean, how many reboots have we
Well,
gotten? And that's been a decades long thing, even before COVID. But and look, and I get it. There is some, you do have to put, uh, some common sense to some of this. The studios are spending millions upon millions of dollars. Some of these movies cost $500,000 or not half a million, $500 million. Um, you kind of want to. The goal is to get that money back and make
no. Yeah. Yeah.
money. So
Make the money
so I
back.
get it. You want to try and make sure. Um, but I don't see that. I don't see it happening as long
Yeah.
as this air of desperation is there. Here's my positive take for me. I think we're going to see more and more independent
Yeah.
movies and TV and stories getting made. I think that's where it's going. I listened to a few podcasts with some actors and filmmakers and stuff, and they're talking about that. They're like, I think we're going to see a resurgence in the indies.
So yeah,
And
and that comes with um the fact that we've got so many people who've come up in the industry in the last, dozen years or so, who they haven't touched grass in the sense that, working being understudies of some of these old veterans who remember how to make a good film without, just cranking the machine. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So I feel like we're getting into uh, a population who started their careers where this is what you do. This is the cookie cutter. You stamp it like that, and the cookies all look the same, you know. And so now, after 10 or so years, they're coming up in the studio sphere in that environment, and that's all they know. And
yeah.
I could be wrong because I don't really know. I don't know any of these people, but we see with the product and we see the stories in the LA Times, and they're all trying to figure out what's going wrong. And this is a show about comics, and we're talking about film right now, but all these things are intertwined because you talk about Marvel Comics, you talk about DC Comics, you're talking about Disney, you're talking about, I'm assuming, Warner Brothers, over there on DC. That changes so many times. I can't even keep track of them.
It's
Um,
Discovery. It's Discovery Warner Brothers.
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. There's,
Yeah.
who cares?
Yeah.
Um,
Which again, but seriously
But
though,
now, yeah, all of a sudden, okay, we got free
because
time, whatever.
because
Yeah,
it is Discovery Warner Brothers. So the CEO of Discovery, um, he made all his bones, all of his um, a name for himself by pushing the Discovery, like bringing the Discovery Channel to that level. Discovery, History Channel, TLC, Travel Channel, all
yeah.
that stuff.
Which no one has anything good to say about those channels
Well,
anymore.
those channels. Well, here's the thing. A lot of people watch those channels. There's a reason they were able to buy Warner Brothers, but that is not um expensive TV. There's a
Oh yeah,
reason they can pump out, 100 episodes of Ancient Aliens and Finding Bigfoot and Expedition X and stuff. There's a lot of travel and stuff, but really those are inexpensive TV shows when you put it versus like a Severance or Stranger Things or something like that,
yeah,
which are essentially movies every week. Um, the problem is that's where this guy's mindset is. It's not in actual like storytelling entertainment. He doesn't give a fuck.
yeah.
And so I'm curious. I mean, I just listened to a podcast the other day where they were talking about how the Looney Tunes are, they're taking the Looney Tunes off of Max and all this stuff like that, and we're kind of losing a lot of these cartoons that we grew up with, and that's just, that's not even all of it. All of these tax write-offs that
Some of them
Warner
can't be
Brothers
lost.
has done. Um, but what what's going to be the result with something like the DCU? I think James Gunn is amazing. Like I love James Gunn movies. I think he's great. Um, and honestly, like I like his non superhero movies. I loved what was it, Slithers. It's just like one of the
Yeah,
just I such a great fun schlock fest. But Suicide Squad when he did that, oh my God, it's just a great movie. Like you don't even have to like superheroes or whatever. I think putting him in charge of the DCU is a great idea, but is he going to have the creative freedom to actually do what needs to be done with
uh,
these people
they'll
breathing
tell
down
him
his
he
neck?
does. They'll tell him he does, and then when that chart is held out, you got to do what's going to make this chart go, which is kind of funny because you seem to get that. It goes back to what you're saying about the desperation. We just need to keep doing that, you know.
Well, and what these people can't figure out. And look, we can't anticipate a hit. We don't know what's going to hit the zeitgeist for a population or whatever. But when we have like a sleeper hit or something comes out of left field and all of a sudden it's huge, it's always something that's never been done before or it's completely unexpected. It's something new. I mean, like Everything Everywhere All at Once, which
Yeah,
won Academy Awards, from a second time, the Daniels, their second movie they ever made. Um, and it's this wild, wild movie about, multiverse and stuff, but that's really not what it's about. It's about a relationship between a daughter and her mother, but they did it with all this just crazy weird multiverse action comedy, kung fu. Like it's just this weird amalgamation of stuff. Nobody would have said, oh, that movie's gonna be huge,
yeah,
and it was. And go back to the early Tarantino movies. No one was like Reservoir Dogs is going to be a sleeper hit. Pulp Fiction. No one was like, and for people that don't remember, movies were not told like that
yeah.
before. Before Pulp Fiction, you did not have movies that were like,
Like,
we're starting at the end and then we're going to the beginning and then we're going to the middle and then we're going to skip all around. We're going to
yeah,
kill a character in the middle of the movie, but he's going to be at the end of the movie. That,
100%.
you know, and it's this huge. I mean, Pulp Fiction was a. I mean, that was a for people that weren't alive when that movie came out. That was a phenomenon
Yeah.
when that movie came out.
It was like a new hit record just dropped. It was like
Yeah,
Nirvana's record
yeah.
or Green Day's record dropping. It just, no one was not talking about it. You saw the posters everywhere. And what's interesting, it's almost the thing in reverse because Tarantino did Reservoir Dogs, and the studios go, okay, that was an indie film, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then so here's a little bit more latitude, make Pulp Fiction. Oh, that was a big hit. And then almost the opposite happened. Tarantino just got so high on on his own farts that like he would maybe give him way too much latitude. Um, at least for me, I got disinterested because they shit just kept going in places that like this is ridiculous now, or maybe I was wrong in my opinion. Maybe it had more to do with oh, do that Pulp Fiction thing again. Here's a bunch of money. Do that Pulp Fiction thing again.
Well, I don't think so. I've never seen him do the Pulp Fiction thing again. I've watched every Tarantino movie. I'm a huge fan. I love some more than others. Um, I'll be honest, everybody raved about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which was his last movie. For me, it was a really long punchline. The end of the movie is amazing. I won't ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it because you really need to go watch it. Um, but but no, we were talking about this before we got on here.
Yeah,
When when I'm kind of disappointed by a Tarantino movie, or I'm disappointed by a like Guillermo del Toro movie,
hmm
or an auteur
yeah,
filmmaker, I get over it a lot faster because even if it didn't speak to me,
hmm
I know that's what I just watched was their vision. And if I didn't
yeah,
like it, that's fine, but that's what they wanted. And
and that's a
so
lot different
for
than a
well,
studio.
and so here's where I bring that back to comics is it gives me more freedom when I put out a story or I'm writing a story, and there are times where I go, this is just too weird.
hmm
Maybe I shouldn't, excuse me, maybe I shouldn't have put it out, but then I go ahead, and I do, and people love it.
hmm
And
You've mentioned
and
that
then
before.
some and then sometimes I'll put one out that I'm like, oh, this everyone will love this, and people are like, eh. And that might be one of my more, kind of like straightforward things. Um, but it gives me freedom. I strongly believe people like I look, writing is super important to comics. It's super important to comics. Um, but I think it's good. At least once you've been writing for a while. I think this is like rules you need to break, but I think it's a good idea to break um those systems that we've been taught. The Joseph Campbell hero's journey, the Dan Harmon story circles. I look, they're there for a reason. They work. I think it's a good idea to kind of look at that within a story. What do these characters want and stuff? But also try something a little different. We see it when things do that, and sometimes they fail, and then sometimes they're hugely popular. Um, no, like I don't know. I know that the journeys are in there, but like a movie like No Country for Old Men,
hmm
which has like no music in it, and it's just this. I honestly not a fan. I love the Coen brothers, and that's probably I'm not a fan of that movie. But it was huge. It was a huge movie when it came out. Um, but I guess my point is, fuck these executives. fuck all these big companies. We talk about this almost every episode. This is why we're independent.
Hmm.
I have zero interest, literally zero interest in being published by anybody. Um, if I were all of a sudden selling 10,000 copies of something and it was hard for me to keep up with, then I maybe I would go look into it. But I'm not.
Hmm.
So what's the point?
Yeah.
And the freedom I get from that is amazing. I can do whatever I want. So I think we're going to see, I hope we're going to see a big resurgence of independent everything, not just movies, everything.
Yeah.
We're seeing the
That's
same
exactly
thing in
right.
comics.
We're seeing it in comics. We're seeing it in games. We're seeing it in all these places where, um, you know, you own the IP for something, so you own it everywhere it exists. So it's like the ripple effect. It's not a ripple effect. It's a whole. It's a tidal. It's a tidal force. Um, that's affecting these characters that we've loved so much. And we've talked a lot about movies today, but that's a representation of everything else, in my opinion. And we're doomed if you think that the major industries are what matters. But Ryan and I are here to tell you that there's if you're here, what's out there, and you're already part of that. So I think we're gonna be fine.
And here's the thing too, before we get off, I think you mentioned, people don't know where to find it. Um, I would push back a little bit with that. I think people, they might not know where to find it, but if they keep getting Drek at the theater and they keep getting Drek at the comic stand and they keep getting all this, eventually people need art, people need entertainment. That's why we do it. That's why we do it. It's magic. We're releasing magic into the world for people. People need to consume that. Okay? It doesn't work if it's look, I heard a great quote from Chet Zar, who's a dark artist, who he said the paint he does these dark paintings. The painting isn't done until someone sees it.
Yeah,
So nothing's done till someone sees it. So I if people are getting shit, they're gonna go look for stuff, and we're gonna see a resurgence. If anything, the proof is YouTube. Look at YouTube with all the independent channels on YouTube.
100%.
So so go do it. Just do the damn thing. Go make your independent thing.
Do the damn thing.